right, evening everybody. We haven't done this in a while on Instagram Live, and I'm gonna answer a couple of your questions. Some of you sent me a whole bunch. I have them right in front of me. I'm gonna go through as much as I can. But before we get started, and while people jump onto the stream, I just want to give you a couple of updates about what's going on. When I was younger, I traveled a lot, and one of my favorite places to travel was India. And there was this airline in India called Kingfisher Airlines. Now, if you are familiar with Indian commerce, you'd know that Vijay Mallya, the owner of the Royal Challengers Bangalore, he owned this airline. And every one of their employees were stunning, stunning, stunning. They were like models, the cabin crew, the pilots, even the ground staff were absolutely stunning. And I still remember some of the, the safety features that they do. Every airline does it. If something were to happen and you put the mask on, and if you were doing a water landing, the vest, and they always spoke about the brace position in times of panic. And I feel now with what's going on in South Africa and at the world at large, you need to put yourself into a financial brace position. And when I say that, I mean, you need to brace yourself for what's coming, particularly in terms of inflation. And I know a lot of you had questions about the videos I've been putting out. It's a special focus on inflation because not enough people understand it. You don't understand the impact it has on you in the immediate future, like at the end of the month, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, and even the long-term impact of inflation. So the video that came out today, I know a lot of questions. It's just one part in a video series. So your questions will be answered then, or you can watch the full YouTube video that will launch on Thursday night. So when I say a financial brace position, you should be cutting off your extras. I sat on the phone 2 weeks ago and went through my credit card bills and my debit account and online accounting and all of that. Wherever I had these subscriptions, I went and checked every debit order from a 49 Rand debit order. I went and checked everything, cancelled what I could. I cancelled my Virgin Active. So I'm not with Virgin Active anymore because there's so much of uncertainty. My husband and I, we decided that we need to create a bigger buffer. I mean, we have emergency savings and this and that, but now is the time for us to create a bigger buffer, cut off the extras. So now is not the time to be upgrading phones. You can't hear me. Does everybody else can't hear me? If you can't hear me, let me know. I think everybody else seems to be hearing me, so please, okay, you got it, fine. Yeah, so financial brace position. Yeah, so we're creating a bigger buffer at home in terms of emergencies. We cut off all the extras, trying to live as lean as we can. Okay, thank you, Marlon, you can hear me. So we're trying to live as lean as we can. Another thing we've done at home is we've changed how we eat. In the last few weeks, we've been transitioning. Transition away from the high-end cuts of meat. If you're going to have it less frequently, going more the route of veg. I remember growing up, meat was like a weekend thing, and it's kind of easy with an Indian diet, I guess, where you can have your veggies and your curries and whatever, and it's more affordable. We're trying to grow a lot at home. Things like spinach, guys, it takes like 30 days and you got a whole bunch of spinach, and that was more of the flight of my life when I went into Pick n Pay, and they have these big bunches of ready to use spinach. It was like 45 bucks, and that's a lot. I go through 2 bags in a week, and that's just for myself. And so I bought a whole bunch of seeds, and we're busy planting it. Kids are very excited. So that's my financial brace. So wherever you can wherever you can make changes at home, I think you're going to have to do it. It's going to get a lot worse, unfortunately. Interest rates are going to be hiked, and you'll see all of the first world countries. I think Australia, or was it New Zealand, that announced a major hike today. The US is talking about a major hike. South Africa at its next cycle will hike again. We're in for a series of interest rate hikes in South Africa. So whatever you can fix your bond, negotiate where you can, consolidate where you can, because we are in for a rough ride. So no new cell phone subscriptions, no upgrades on your iPad and tablets, smartwatches and all of that. Try and stretch it out as long as you can. Also, you shouldn't be buying cars now, unless you're doing it for business purposes where you're getting the tax benefit. But on the personal capacity, I don't think anybody should be getting into cars right now, unless you're downgrading because of the fuel price being so horrendous. All right, so we're answering your questions. If you have any more questions, type it in the comments and I'll try to get them off my computer because the screen is going so fast. All right, so first question, what to invest in and which platform to use? I know I get this question, I think at least 3 every single week. I get some DMs, but what should you invest in? First, you've got to know the purpose of why you're investing. What is your purpose? What is your reasoning? You want to know how long you want to stay invested. You want to know the tax implications, which is the most tax efficient investment for you. There's a lot of online platforms. Most online banking platforms will give you access to a share platform or unit trust platform. If you're familiar with the asset managers, the tax implications, you can go ahead and invest on your own. I like Easy Equities as my share trading platform. It's pretty easy. Okay, all right, Prevan, I'll come to that. Yeah, so Easy Equities is very easy. If you want to get a voucher on that, if you haven't invested in Easy Equities, send me a DM and I'll send you a link that you can invest in. But no, you got to do your research. You got to know where you're investing, why you're investing. You got to be willing to read the financial statements of companies, keep track of everything. And you got to take your time in terms of equity investments. Easy Equities also has ETFs and unit trusts as well. Again, you got to know your tax wrapper, know the asset manager, know the fees involved. Now, if you don't want to get your hands dirty in that sort of thing, then you see somebody like me or a financial advisor that you're comfortable with, and they will assist you, assess your risk, give you a far broader variety than what most of your online platforms can give you if you're speaking to an independent financial advisor. And I think the greatest value of a financial advisor is, okay, I can't talk for all financial advisors, it's just mine. I will give you the tax implications of the investments. I will give you the fees, so you understand the fee structure. So I don't want any of my clients 2 years down the line to say, but you didn't tell me about these fees. So I want to make sure with my clients upfront, you know about the fees, because the fees are a big one. If you can reduce your fees by 1% over a 40-year period, you have the potential to double your return. All right, so that's important for me. And also there are some select investments that you cannot get without an advisor because you need that advice. Like now I have a nice one available, just released this week, where you can double your money in 5 years. So that's very sweet. That's a lump sum investment, 100,000. So if you're keen on that, reach out and I can help you. All right, there's some questions up here before I take the next one off my page. RA versus a tax-free investment, which is best? Okay, so it depends on your purpose. Now, retirement annuities give you some great tax benefits where it reduces your tax liability. For example, if you earn R1 million a year, you have to pay tax as per the tax scale in South Africa. But if you are making contributions to pension, provident, or retirement annuity, you get your taxable income decreases. So you can invest a maximum of 27.5% a year, capped at 350,000 Rand per year. So you can't really exceed that limit. So if you're earning R1 million and you max out your 27.5%, that's around 275,000 Rands. So you won't be taxed on R1 million, you would be taxed on 725,000 Rands. So that's a really nice benefit, especially when you're younger. You can reduce your tax liability. Also, if you're a higher income earner as well, you have that benefit. Because SARS is giving you such a big tax break, they're also telling you where you can invest. We had a nice bit of relief from the finance minister a couple of months ago, where he increased the offshore exposure to 40%. Previously it was 30%. So that's quite nice. So what you should also know about retirement annuities is you don't pay any tax on the growth from now up until the point you access the funds. But at the point that you access the funds, you will be taxed. You're allowed to take out 1/3, and from that 1/3, the first 500,000 is tax-free, assuming you haven't had any other withdrawals previously. And the 2/3, you're going to have to buy an annuity, a living annuity and a life annuity. So this is where the comparison with the tax-free investment is. So usually with my clients, if a client tells me they have 10,000 for retirement savings, I don't put all in an RA. I try and max out the tax-free investment first because it gives a client more options, mainly because they can never touch their pot of their retirement savings, whereas you can do that with a tax-free investment. Your retirement income is also taxed. Your tax-free investment is not taxed. Your tax-free investment, you can, depending on which one you're in, you can literally be tracking offshore performance, and that is very sweet. Whereas your retirement annuity, you're limited to 40%, whereas you can be 100% in a tax-free investment. Depending on the returns you get in that investment, if you're receiving dividends in the tax-free investment, you will have to pay dividend withholding tax. That's 20% in South Africa, and the asset manager will pay it on your behalf. So how you should see both these products, you contributing and reducing your liability with your RA, and this one you trying to maximize your tax-free investment. And also the content of this live is not financial advice. Please speak to your financial advisor. All right, so I hope I answered your questions on that. What's the best investment option for a 2-year period? It depends. If you need access to that funds, best you keep it in the bank. If you're not happy with the bank returns, I would recommend a unit trust. But again, it depends on your level of tax, and we have to do some calculations to make sure that when you do withdraw, you're under the threshold and you're not paying any taxes. So we can be very savvy when you make withdrawals on your unit trust. So we don't want to pay any taxes on that. All right, I'm just scrolling through to see any more questions. All right, cool. Went through all of that. All right, the next question I had was, I'm 6 years from retirement. Shall I continue paying, or because performance hasn't been good? Okay, so hopefully you've been sitting with your financial advisor as the years have been passing and rebalancing that portfolio to best meet your risk level at that stage in life. Okay, so we want to make sure that the current portfolios that you're in, it matches you right now in terms of your risk. We also want to look at the performance. Is everything performing as you would like? But just know that the situation where we're in now, not everything is performing. By me saying that, it's not for me to put you off investing. For me, it's the biggest opportunity because it's such a huge drop. And investments is always, you make money when you buy. From property to ETFs to unit trust, you make money when you buy. So you buy low and you sell high. So right now we're at a point of low. And for me, wherever I can get my hands on something, I'm just buying ETFs and unit trusts, and in certain companies, shares as well. All right. Also, if you choose to pause your retirement annuity, depending on the company that you're with, there could be penalties depending on how long you're in the product. There could be penalties. But like I said, when we were comparing the RA and the tax-free investment, I tell my younger clients, especially who are very undecided about South Africa and want to immigrate, you have to be saving for your retirement. It doesn't have to be in an RA. If you're willing to forego the tax benefit of an RA, the tax-free investment is a nice option. After you cap that, then go to an RA, because once you leave, there's rules. You can't take that money with you. You got to wait 3 years before you take it with you. All right, next question. Which investments gives the best interest rate? I know with investments and the return that you get is very different from interest. It's only bonds and cash that actually pay you interest. The other stuff pays you an income like rental income, and the equity portion pays you dividends. So each of that is taxed differently. For example, your dividends, like I said, you pay the 20% dividend holding tax. the company asset manager pays it for you on your behalf. So you literally never see it. You'll see it in your statement every month, but it's not money that you will see. This is something new. We never had this previously. It's just that our government is all about taxes, so they'll sneak it in where they can. All right, and then when it comes to rental income, for example, if you're in a REIT, I know a lot of my clients, we always put you in the Crosshairs REIT, and that pays you rental income twice a year. So with that rental portion, the REIT has to pay you 70%. In South Africa, the minimum is 70% that they have to pay out, and that rental portion basically gets added to your income, your gross income. Just like if you were holding investment property, that rental income will just be added to your gross income, and then your tax would be calculated that way. And then when it comes to the interest portion, in South Africa, there's a 23,400 Rand exemption for under 65s, and over 65s, it's 34,500 exemption. So how that works is, let's say in a year, you are in interest-bearing investments in the bank and 32-day and all of that, and you receive 100,000 Rand in interest income. So if you're under 65, you minus 23,800 from there. If you're over 65, you minus 23,500 from there, and then you'll be taxed on the rest. Okay, so that's very important, because it's a nice exemption. It's not enough. I'd like to see, especially because a lot of retirees use this, the interest portion. They want fixed income, and you know, to be paying tax in retirement is just an awful thing. And I would like to see those exemptions raised, but I don't know. I'm not the Minister of Finance. All right, why don't you recommend bank products? All right, so I don't recommend bank products because those products are interest bearing and very low interest bearing. And when we do invest, we must always factor in inflation. So I put out a video last week where we spoke about the Fisher equation, where you basically minus investment from inflation, and that's your actual rate of return, and it's the reverse with your debt. So if an investment is giving you a 10% return, and currently on paper they're telling us inflation is at 6%, I don't believe them, it's higher, all right? But they're telling us 6%, we got to take the 6, minus it from the 10, so our real rate of return is 4%. So now if we look at the banks they will give you a 5% return, but inflation is at 6%, so you're losing 1%. All right, and the best part is, if you have large volumes of money in there, let's say you have R1 million and you did 100,000 in interest income, your lump sum million is being eroded by inflation, and you're paying tax on the eroded return, and that's just disastrous. So that is one reason I don't recommend it. I think if you're holding money, I did do a video on the use of money markets, the difference between the bank money markets and the money market funds that I can give you access to. There's a big difference. You can see the full video on YouTube. It's the truth about South African money markets. And then we break it down there, how you should be using money markets. It's a good tool. You don't write it out altogether. If you have emergency savings, sinking funds, you're saving for your annual vacation, banks are the most convenient for you to use. All right, somebody sent me a request to be on my live. No, I'm not doing that. Mainly because I don't have the confidence and I don't know who you are. If you plan it in advance, maybe. All right, number 5. How do I know if my pension is enough? Now, nobody knows the markets. Nobody can tell you on the 5th of December, 2073, this is how much you're going to have, mainly because it's all market dependent. So what you should be doing every year is a financial review with your financial advisor. And in that review, you will do projections as to where your current retirement is, the current valuations, if you project it now, and if you're retiring in 2050, based on today's performance, how close you are in 2050, what your lump sum is going to be, what the value is going to be based on assumed inflation and an assumed return rate. So one, nobody can guarantee you that. Nobody can tell you an exact figure for sure. It's always a work in progress. We're trying to figure out how much you'll have for retirement. So the best thing you can do for yourself for retirement is over prepare and learn to live as basic as possible. And financial brace, I think we're going to be living in a place of financial brace in South Africa for a very long time. Number 6, I don't like risk. How can I get guaranteed returns? All right. So if you don't like risk, then you got to stay with the banks. But know that with the banks, you're losing anyway. You're just not having the volatility of the loss of the open market of up and down, up and down. It's just a downward because inflation is so high. So if you want guaranteed investments, those are something we can give you as well. Now remember, it's interest based. So if you tell me you have 100,000 Rand a year, I'll put that into my software and we'll do various comparisons with different companies and we'll see who's giving us the best rate. So every week, each of the companies have their own rate. So if you say 100,000 and then company A will say, right, 100,000 in 5 years time, we can guarantee a return of 130. But now again, you got to be savvy enough to say, okay, factoring inflation, am I even really making money here? And you can't even really take inflation as real inflation because they're telling you 6%. But petrol price is like almost 20-30% increase a year. All right. And petrol price affects everything from food to travel, the cost to work, delivery of your clothes. It affects everything. So how we can be at 6% is such a wonder to me. We also look at Eskom increases 15% a year. I don't know where you guys are in your part of the world, but in Durban, they hit us with 15% increase on our rates. All right. Also look at your utility, your levies, if you are in a sectional title as well. What are those increases like? Most of the time, the increases are in double digits. All right. So they're telling us inflation is at 6%. But there's no way, practically there's no way that can be true. All right, so any more questions for me before we head off? No more questions. All right, cool. So you guys have a good evening. And yeah, maybe next month we'll do another one. Take care.